Hello everyone, Tekken 8 prep continues. First the father, now the son. Welcome to the Jin Primer. Jin shares a lot of that classic Mishima style with Kazuya, but also features an excellent poke game, including those traditional moves that Kazuya lacks. He also has a better anti-button game, particularly with his unique parry, so the execution element is still there, but not nearly as heavily as it is with Kazuya. As with our other primers, this video should give you a good quick rundown on the character to jumpstart your learning and get you playing some matches. We will keep the technical lingo to a minimum, but you should still have some knowledge on basic standardized Tekken terms, especially notations and terms for various game mechanics. In other words, this guide is meant for beginners, but you should already know a little bit about the game, just not necessarily the character. If you are brand new to Tekken, check out the resource links in the video description below. I've included several, including a system basics guide that operates as a tutorial for the whole game, since Tekken doesn't really have that built in. To me, I think it's incredibly important to go over that before trying to tackle character specific guides. But enough of all that, let's begin. So we'll start with the crouch dash stuff. If you watch the Kazuya primer, a lot of this will sound familiar, but still very important. The crouch dash, or CD, is simply a forward, neutral, down, down, forward motion, which you can loop, something referred to as a wave dash. Looping it not only allows you to quickly close distance, but popping out of the crouch dash gives you access to neutral tools so that you're not just limited to CD moves. That said, CD4 is your big low threat, very risky on block, but gives you a full juggle in return. It is a little on the slow side for a hell sweep, so to properly mix it up, you should be using mids of a similar speed. Doing a slight delay into CD3 is a good one, since that's a safe chunky homing mid. Similarly, a delayed CD1 works as well. It's riskier on block, but yields a full juggle in return. A safer launch option is forward forward 3, which you can do as CD forward 3. It is a bit slower than going straight to CD4, but by popping out of CD, you create a timing mix-up, since you can either do one of your standing lows or go into another CD so you can threaten with the hell sweep again. At match speed, it's very hard to keep up with that. By the way, forward forward 2 is another common heavy hitting mid, which you can also do as CD forward 2. If you want just a quick safe poke, you can do his while standing 4 from CD as forward neutral quarter circle forward 4. The only other CD move to talk about then is of course the electric hook fist. Jin's electric works a lot like the traditional God Fist, but with a couple of wrinkles. It's similar in that it's a very quick launcher that gives sizable advantage on block. It is a high, but recovers very quickly, which makes it difficult, if not impossible, to whiff punish on reaction. It can be stepped, but the first difference is that instead of being weak to the right, it's weak to the left. Just like electric when God Fist though, you can mitigate that by being active with your movement or doing things like dash electrics. The other main difference is that the non-electric version is not a launcher. The timing of the electric version has mostly to do with how quickly you input the down, down, forward 2 sequence, which of course takes practice to get consistently, but unlike other characters that have a more traditional God Fist, Jin's non-electric version just knocks down, so there's a little more on the line for him if he doesn't get the electric. That said, it's still a fantastic pressure and keep out tool, so putting in the time to get it consistent is more than worth it. That wraps up CD, so how about regular old standing? As mentioned, Jin's pokes are excellent, so you don't have to rely only on your crouch dash. Down back 4 is probably your main threat, since it's a relatively low risk chunky low that knocks down on counter hit for a free ground follow-up. It also gives sizable advantage on hit, so you can continue pressure. Otherwise, down 4 and down 3-3 deserve honorable mentions. Note that down 3-3 has range issues, so it's not a bad idea to do this from CD to lower that risk. The rest of his poke kit is pretty insane, but also straightforward. His jab string options are pretty crazy, the most common of which are certainly 1-2-3, 1-2-4, and 2-1-4, or just 2-1 if you prefer. Down forward 1 is of course a great mid poke, more along those traditional lines, although it does have a safe follow-up as well. Back 2-1 is a safe double mid with solid range, so it's a very common tool. You can throw back 3, back 4, and up forward 2 into the mix too. And don't forget your slower but heavier options with down forward 4, down 1, up forward 3, forward forward 4, and running 3. You really have a ton to choose from, so just pick the couple you like the most and go from there. We'll start this section by talking about the one major move we omitted in the last section, forward 4. Jin can be exceptional at close range, but he's a beast at mid-range because of this move. You can certainly use it like a power poke, but what you really want to do is play keep out with it and hunt for a counter hit, which yields a juggle. It's honestly an incredibly simple tool to use, so there's not much more to say, just never ever forget about it. In fact, spam it. It's kind of offense and defense put together. Now for more pure defense, Jin is a great block punisher. Like the other Mishimas, his 2-4 jab punish knocks down and his can splat. Slightly slower is 1+2, also a splatter and a little more consistent since it's a mid. Again, like the other Mishimas, he can start to launch a little early with his electric, but know that this is difficult. Otherwise, unlike the other Mishimas, Jin has a hop kick, which is only a little slower and obviously far easier to do. For crouch, he does lack the powerful Mishima axe kicks, but still has a normal while standing 4 for a quick punish. He does also have while standing 1-2, which is only a little slower and also a safe mid-mid poke string. Then he can start launching at 14 frames with while standing 2, which not all characters can do. For crushing and evasion, up forward 4 and up forward 3 are both solid low crushes, although up forward 3 only launches on counter hit, but in return it's safe on block. Another move that we already mentioned, up forward 2, is an excellent evasive tool as well, this time to the side. High crushes are a bit sparse, although note down 4, down back 3, and his other stance, which we'll get into later. For quick counter hit tools, down forward 2 is a safe mid counter hit launcher, so that's solid. Your electric is of course exceptional. You also have standing 4, which is a stupid quick, safe, homing counter hit launcher. It can also wall splat if your opponent is close enough to the wall, so just an amazing tool. You can also add all of these into your forward 4 game to round that out. Otherwise, the last big thing to mention is his parry, done as back 1+3 or back 2+4. Unlike traditional reversals, his parry does not affect his opponent in any way. Instead, he moves himself out of the way, which forces your opponent to go through the full recovery of their move. In other words, it acts as if your opponent whiffed the move. There's no built-in response, you just have to pick from your move list, so what you can get purely depends on the attack you parry and how long it takes your opponent to recover. 2-4 is the most common response due to its speed and relative safety, but you can absolutely fit a hop kick in against a lot of moves. There's also not a lot of limitation to what you can parry, so elbows and knees, which for example will normally beat typical reversals, are not immune to Jin's parry. It takes some getting used to, but it's incredibly powerful and gives him an out in almost any situation. Okay, so we glossed over Jin's other stance mostly because it's meant for utility and is a little tough to talk about properly in a primer. For instance, it can be referred to as either Zen or CDS depending on how you do it, but your options are the same regardless. It does have a risky knockdown low, but it's considerably slower than the other options, so at best it's mostly there to high crush and not so much as a mix-up tool. The other options are all similarly situational except for perhaps CDS 1, which is a safe mid poke but has a couple of powerful follow-ups that you can confirm. Anything beyond that is going to be setup related, which this guide isn't really built for, but know that it can be really nasty at times and has built-in transitions from a handful of moves. Also note that Jin does have a grab game in the sense that he has a command grab for each break. Quarter circle back 1+3 is your 1 break, down forward 2+3 is your 2 break, and up forward 1+2 is your 1+2 break. Nothing too incredibly scary, but having the full assortment of grab breaks helps wither down defensive shells, so don't forget about them. We will skip juggles of course, but check out the video description below for a link to some sample combos. Otherwise, the last thing to mention is his Rage Drive, which is his CD2 followed up by a safe version of his CD1. From here you can either hold down forward to go to another crouch dash, which actually gives you insane advantage on block, or you can finish the built-in string. You won't gain a ton of benefit finishing the string versus just going to crouch dash unless perhaps you're at the wall, but you'll get a powerful juggle either way. Regardless, it's a very strong Rage Drive. This brings us to the end of the primer. I'm hoping this information was succinct and helpful for getting a jump on the character, but feedback is always welcome. Be mindful that in-depth discussion for game plans and move attributes will be saved for intermediate guides, although since we have the more robust basics guides already for Tekken 7, true intermediate guides will be something to look out for with Tekken 8. Lastly, big thanks to our patrons. You guys are the best and that support means more than you know. But to everyone, stay safe and we'll see you next time.